Rian had always dreamed of leaving Earth and starting fresh on a new world. When he finally stepped onto the soil of Vera, the dream became real. The planet was unlike anything he had ever seen. The air was clear and cool, with a faint shimmer, as if light itself moved through the breeze. Above him, the sky was alive, shifting from blue to violet to soft gold as the hours passed. Towering silver trees rose high around the small human settlement, their leaves catching light and glowing faintly in the dusk. Rian's new home was simple. Built from lightweight materials, carried by the colonists. The walls reflected a soft, pale light. The ground around his house was covered in small, glowing plants that pulsed slowly like breathing. Everything seemed alive but silent, as if the planet was holding its breath. For the first time in his life, he felt both free and small. The first days were filled with work. He unpacked the few belongings he had brought from Earth, arranged his tools, and made the little house comfortable. He walked to the nearby market to meet other humans who had arrived months earlier. They welcomed him, but he felt a distance in their words. They spoke carefully, their eyes sometimes shifting toward the dark forests beyond the river. When he asked why, they only said that the natives of Vera preferred to remain unseen. One evening, after he finished setting up solar panels behind his house, he heard a knock on the door. The sound was gentle, almost too soft to notice. Rian opened the door and froze. A tall woman stood before him, her presence calm yet powerful. She wore simple dark clothes that flowed like water when she moved. Her skin was pale, not sickly but smooth and faintly shining under the fading light. Her eyes caught his attention most of all, sharp, glowing faintly like two fragments of the moon. "I am Mara," she said, her voice low and steady. "I live across the river." Rian hesitated before answering. He had heard whispers from the other settlers about neighbors who were not human. Some avoided the subject altogether. Yet here she was, standing at his door, her gaze never wavering. "I am Rian," he said finally, trying to keep his voice calm. "I moved here just a week ago." Mara gave a small nod. Her expression was not easy to read. She seemed to study him as if she could see not only his face, but the rhythm of his heartbeat. Rian shifted slightly under her gaze, feeling both unsettled and curious. "You must be adjusting," Mara said. "This world can be difficult for those who come from far away." Rian nodded. "It is beautiful, but different." The silence feels heavy. Mara's lips curved slightly. Not quite a smile, but something close. "The silence is part of Vera. In time, you will learn to hear what is hidden within it." Before Rian could reply, she stepped back and looked toward the glowing river. "If you wish, you may visit my home. I welcome new neighbors." Her words were simple, but something in her tone made them feel important, like more than an ordinary invitation. Rian thanked her, though his voice trembled slightly. After she left, he stood at the door for a long while, staring at the silver forest across the water. He could not shake the feeling that Mara's eyes had seen more of him than he had spoken. That night, sleep did not come easily. The glowing plants outside pulsed softly, filling his room with faint light. He turned again and again on his bed, his thoughts circling around Mara. Who was she? Why did her presence stir both fear and interest in him? The settlers had said little about the natives, but now he had met one face to face. The next day, Rian tried to distract himself with work. He cleaned the filters in the water system and walked around the settlement. Yet everywhere he went, he noticed the way people looked toward the forest and river, always with a trace of unease. One older settler, a man named Tovan, caught Rian watching the trees. "Have you met them yet?" Tovan asked quietly. Rian did not answer right away. Then he said, "One came to my house." She said her name was Mara. Tovan's eyes narrowed, but he only nodded. "They are not like us. Be careful. They mean no harm if respected. But they are old, older than this colony, older than anything we've built. Some say they drink the strength of living things." The words made Rian uneasy, but he also felt a spark of curiosity grow stronger. That evening, he walked to the riverbank. The water glowed with soft blue light, carrying reflections of the silver trees. Across the river, he could see the dark shape of Mara's home. It rose like a crystal tower, sharp against the shifting sky. He stood there for a long time, listening to the silence of Vera. The air carried no bird calls, no insects, only the faint hum of the river. He thought of Mara's words, "You will learn to hear what is hidden." When he returned to his house, the night was deep, yet he no longer felt alone. Somewhere across the glowing water, his neighbor waited, and Rian knew that his new life on Vera was only beginning. The following morning on Vera was quiet, as always. Rian woke to the glow of the silver trees reflecting through his window. The light was soft and cold, nothing like the warm sunrise of Earth. He made a simple meal, sat by the window, and thought of Mara's visit. Her eyes had unsettled him, yet they pulled at his mind again and again. He could not deny the strange weight of her invitation. When he stepped outside, the ground plants pulsed with gentle blue light, as though guiding him toward the river. He walked slowly, his boots sinking into the soft moss that covered the soil. The air felt heavy, but not unpleasant. It was as if the planet itself was aware of his movement. At the edge of the river, Rian stopped. The water glowed brighter in the morning, carrying light like flowing glass. Across the shining current, Mara's home stood dark and sharp against the silver forest. Its crystal walls rose like frozen towers, not built by human hands. The structure gave off no sound, no signal of life, yet it felt alive. Rian hesitated. He remembered the warning of the older settler, Tovin. "They are not like us. Be careful." But curiosity was stronger than fear. He told himself that he came here to start a new life, and hiding from neighbors would not help. He called across the river. His voice sounded strange, muted by the still air. For a moment, there was no reply. Then, from the shadows of the crystal house, Mara appeared. She stepped onto the smooth stone near the water and lifted her hand. "You came," she said softly. Her voice carried easily across the glowing stream, as though the river itself wanted her words to reach him. Rian nodded. "You invited me. I thought it would be rude not to visit." Her eyes shone faintly as she gestured for him to cross. There was no bridge, but a flat path of black stone rose slowly from the water, connecting both sides. Rian stared in surprise. The structure had not been there before. Mara said nothing about it, only waited. Taking a breath, Rian stepped onto the stone. The river glowed beneath him, waves of light rolling past his feet. Each step made him feel heavier, yet his heart beat faster. When he reached the other side, Mara stood waiting, silent but watching. "Welcome to my home," she said. Rian followed her through an archway into the crystal house. Inside, the air was cooler, shaded by heavy curtains. The walls seemed to drink in the light, leaving only a faint red glow that came from vessels placed around the room. The furniture was simple but strange, carved from stone and polished to a mirror surface. He glanced at the vessels. They looked like jars of liquid glowing faintly red. He thought of asking but held back. Instead, he studied the designs on the walls. Symbols were carved deep into the crystal, spirals and lines that twisted in patterns unlike any writing he knew. "You wonder what this place is," Mara said, her voice calm. She moved toward one of the vessels and touched it lightly. "This is an old home. My kind built such houses long before your people came to Vera." Rian nodded, trying to keep his voice steady. "Your home is very different from ours. It feels older, stronger." Mara's sharp eyes turned toward him. "It holds memories. Not all are easy to bear." They walked deeper inside. Every step echoed faintly, though Mara's own steps made no sound at all. Rian noticed more symbols carved into the floor, arranged in circles. In one chamber, heavy curtains blocked every trace of daylight. The silence was deep, pressing against his ears. Mara gestured for him to sit at a stone table. She sat across from him, her pale hands resting calmly. "Tell me of Earth," she said. "Tell me of the world you left behind." Rian spoke carefully. He described the blue skies of Earth, the oceans that covered most of it, the cities filled with people, and the endless noise of machines and voices. Mara listened without interruption, her eyes fixed on him as though she was reading more than his words. When he finished, she spoke. "Your world is alive with sound and motion. This one is alive with silence. To live here, You must learn to feel what cannot be heard, Rian asked quietly. And what about your people? The others like you? Mara leaned back slightly. We are the Varen. We were born of this planet. We live long lives, but not without cost. We take our strength from the living flow of others. Without it, we weaken. That is why we dwell apart. Many humans do not understand and would fear us. Her words sent a shiver through Rian. He thought of Tovin's warning again. Yet Mara's tone was not threatening. It was more like confession, calm and honest. You drink life, Rian said slowly. That is what the vessels are. Mara's eyes glowed faintly. We take only what is offered. Long ago, my people learned that survival without balance leads to ruin. We do not destroy. We do not hunt wildly. Instead, we share. The humans who accept our presence live longer, stronger. We, in turn, take only enough to live. The room fell silent after her words. Rian's heart beat fast, but he kept his gaze steady. He thought of how Mara had looked at him that first night, as if she saw his heartbeat. Now he understood why. Mara rose and moved to the curtain, pulling it back slightly. A sharp line of sunlight entered, striking the crystal floor. She did not step into it. Instead, she let it illuminate her pale face. You fear me, she said softly. That is natural. Fear keeps you cautious. But know this side do not invite those I do not trust. You came to this world to begin anew. I came to your door because I saw strength in you, not weakness. Rian swallowed hard. And if I had refused your invitation? Then you would live as you wish, she replied. We do not force. The choice must always remain with you. Her words carried weight, as though they were part of some old law. Rian studied her face, trying to read her. There was no cruelty there, no hunger like he imagined. Instead, there was patience, as if she had lived long enough to understand fear. The evening grew darker. Mara lit a small flame in the room, but it glowed with strange blue light instead of yellow. She offered Rian a cup carved from crystal. Inside was a thick liquid, not red, but golden, shining faintly. This is safe for you, she said. It will calm the heart. Rian accepted it. The drink was sweet and heavy, spreading warmth through his body. He felt his worry ease, though his mind remained sharp. Mara watched him carefully, then spoke again. You must decide, Rian. In time, you will see the truth of Vera. But tonight is only a beginning. I have shown you part of my home, and I have spoken what many of my kind would keep hidden. That is my offering of trust. What you do with it will shape what comes next. Rian placed the cup down slowly. His hands trembled, not from fear alone, but from the weight of choice pressing on him. Mara sat silent, waiting. The glow of the river outside reached faintly through the window, painting her face in shifting blue light. He realized then that his new life on Vera was not only about survival. It was about learning what it meant to be human among others who were not. And though his heart warned him to be cautious, another part urged him to step closer. To understand when he finally rose to leave, Mara did not stop him. She only said, the path will remain. When you are ready, you may return. Rian crossed the Blackstone Bridge back to his side of the river. Behind him, Mara's house faded into shadow once more. Yet the image of her pale eyes and calm voice stayed with him. The silence of Vera no longer felt empty. It felt like a secret waiting for him to choose whether to open it. The night after Rian's first visit to Mara's house was long and restless. He lay in bed, staring at the faint glow of the plants outside his window. Their gentle pulsing filled the room with a rhythm that seemed alive, almost like breathing. His thoughts circled endlessly. He remembered the symbols carved into the crystal walls, the jars of glowing liquid, the silence that pressed against his chest when he entered her home. Most of all, he remembered Mara's eyes, sharp, and filled with something he could not name. In the settlement the next morning, the humans carried on with their daily work, but Rian noticed small signs of unease. People avoided speaking of the natives. They hurried along the paths, heads low, as if the forest itself was listening. When Rian mentioned that he had visited Mara, most of them grew quiet. One woman shook her head and warned him to keep his distance. Another man simply said, "The Varen are not dangerous unless you forget who you are." Their words did little to settle his heart, yet the pull toward Mara's house grew stronger. By the second evening, Rian could no longer resist. He crossed the glowing river again. The black stone bridge rose from the water as before, as if waiting for him. Mara was already outside, standing silently on the dark stone steps. It was as though she knew he would come. "You returned," she said. Her voice carried no surprise, only quiet certainty. "I wanted to understand more," Rian admitted. "You told me only a little. I need to know the rest." Mara studied him for a moment, then turned and led him inside. The air was cooler, the same faint red glow filling the crystal halls. This time, she guided him deeper than before. They walked through long corridors until they reached a large chamber where the ceiling arched high, carved with spirals that seemed to move when he looked at them. "This is the heart of my home," Mara said, "and here is where the truth must be shown." Rian's eyes fell upon a stone circle in the center of the floor. Symbols glowed faintly on its surface. Around it stood tall vessels filled with light that shifted slowly between red and gold. The air here was heavier, filled with an energy that made the hairs on his arms rise. Mara stepped into the circle. "The Varen live by bonds. We do not live only for ourselves. Our life depends on exchange. You asked what we take. The word is life energy, though that is not precise. It is not blood or flesh we require. It is the spark that flows through living beings. Without it, we wither. With it, we remain strong." Rian stood at the edge of the circle, his chest tight. "And you take this spark from humans?" "From those who give it," Mara answered. "Never by force. This pact is old. When the first humans came to Vera, they feared us. But in time some understood. They shared, and they found that giving did not make them weaker. It bound them to us, and they gained protection in years beyond what they expected. We, in turn, were able to survive without harming." She placed her hand over one of the glowing vessels. The light inside shifted, pulsing gently. "These vessels hold what has been given freely. It does not die. It becomes part of our home. We carry it with us, and in return we protect those who trust us." Rian's voice came out in a whisper. "That is why you invited me." Mara met his eyes. "Yes, you are new here. You walk alone, but your heart is strong. I see it in you. But I will never force you. The choice must be yours." Silence filled the chamber. Rian could hear the faint hum of the glowing vessels, like distant music. His thoughts raced. He remembered Tovin's warning, the unease of the settlers, the strange weight of Mara's gaze. Yet here, standing before her, he felt no threat. There was something ancient in her words, something that felt like truth. Mara stepped closer, still inside the circle. "You may choose to walk away. Many do. You may live among your own kind and pretend that this planet is only a new land to conquer. But if you choose to join, then you will see Vera as it truly is. You will hear the silence not as emptiness, but as voice." Rian's chest rose and fell quickly. He tried to imagine what it meant to share his life energy. Would it drain him? Would he become something less than human? But the thought that humans had already chosen this path before gave him pause. If others had trusted, perhaps it was not the doom the settlers whispered about. "Show me," said finally. Mara's eyes glowed softly like the moon reflected in still water. "Very well. Step into the circle." Rian's legs felt heavy, but he moved forward. The symbols on the floor brightened under his feet. When he stood across from her, Mara lifted her hand. "Place your hand in mine. That is all." He raised his hand slowly and touched hers. Her skin was cool, smooth, and carried a faint vibration. The moment they connected, the chamber filled with light. The vessels around them flared softly, their glow shifting between gold and silver. Rian felt a rush of warmth move from his chest into his arm, flowing into Mara's hand. His breath caught, but it was not painful. Instead, it was like exhaling after holding his breath too long. Mara's eyes closed as she received the flow. Her voice was soft. Do not fear. I take only what you offer. The glow around them steadied, and Rian felt his heart calm. His senses sharpened, the hum of the vessels grew clearer. The patterns on the walls seemed to shift and breathe. The silence of Vera filled his ears with hidden layers. For the first time, he understood what Mara had meant. The silence was not empty. It was alive. After a few moments, Mara released his hand. The glow faded, and the chamber returned to its steady red light. Rian stepped back, breathing hard but not weak. In fact, he felt strangely clear, as though a fog had lifted from his mind. Mara bowed her head slightly. The bond is formed. You are part of my circle now? That does not mean you are mine. You are still free, but now you walk into worlds, the world of your people and the world of mine. Rian struggled for words. I feel different. Not weaker, stronger. That is the balance, Mara said. What is given is not lost. It changes. It connects. This is how we survive, and how you may thrive here. They left the chamber, walking back through the crystal halls. Rian's thoughts swirled, but beneath the storm of questions was a strange calm. He no longer felt like a stranger on Vera. For the first time, he felt as though the planet itself had accepted him. At the doorway, Mara paused. You must keep this truth to yourself. Not all of your people are ready to understand. Some will fear. Some will spread lies. Trust only those who show patience. Rian nodded slowly. He understood the danger. If word spread, the fragile peace between humans and Viren could break. As he crossed the black stone bridge back to his side of the river, Rian looked once more at Mara's dark crystal house. It no longer seemed only strange or frightening. It seemed like a beacon, a place where two worlds touched. He knew his life had changed. The bond was real. And though he could not yet see where the path would lead, he felt certain of one thing: humanity's place on Vera would be shaped not by fear, but by the choices of those willing to trust. The days that followed Rian's bond with Mara were unlike any he had known before. The silence of Vera, which once felt heavy and strange, now seemed to carry hidden voices. He could sense faint currents in the air, as if the planet whispered in ways only those connected to it could understand. Colors looked sharper, sounds clearer. Even the glow of the river at night seemed to thrum in harmony with his own heartbeat. Rian tried to act as if nothing had changed when he returned to the settlement. But he knew people noticed something different. A woman at the market told him his eyes seemed brighter. Tovin, the older settler, gave him a long, searching look and finally said, You've crossed the line, haven't you? You've let them touch your life. Rian didn't answer, but his silence was enough. Tovin shook his head. Be careful. Some humans fear what they do not understand. If they see you as part of the Varen, they may turn from you. The warning stayed with him. Even so, he could not bring himself to regret his choice. Mara's bond had not made him weaker. It had given him strength and clarity. More than that, it had given him trust. One evening, Rian crossed the black stone bridge again. Mara was waiting, as always, her figure calm and still against the glow of her crystal house. She guided him inside and led him to a chamber he had not seen before. The walls here were darker, lined with carvings so deep that they seemed to drink in the light. In the center stood a tall stone covered in symbols that pulsed with faint silver light. This is the memory pillar, Mara explained. It holds the history of my people. Few humans have seen it. Rian stepped closer, drawn by the shifting symbols. Images seemed to rise from the stone itself, tall figures walking beneath silver skies. Great towers of crystal rising from the forests, rivers glowing even brighter than now. He saw a time when the Varan walked in the open, unafraid. But then the images darkened. He saw fire, battles, and Varen who fell into chaos, taking too much life energy until the balance of the planet trembled. Mara's voice was quiet but firm. That was our downfall. We forgot restraint. We forgot the pact with the living. The silence you hear now is our vow, born from that time. We chose stillness so that destruction would not return. That is why we live apart in shadow, so we do not repeat the mistake. Rian felt the weight of her words. He realized the silence of Vera was not natural alone, it was chosen. A reminder of past wounds. You showed me trust when you formed the bond, Mara continued. But now there is another step. To walk beside us, you must face the test of silence. Only then will you understand what we guard, Rian asked carefully. What is this test? Mara gestured to the pillar. You must sit before the memory and let it speak to you. You must not run, even if what you see frightens you. The silence will surround you, and within it you will hear the truth of your spirit. Few humans can endure it. Many turn back. Rian felt a surge of fear, but also determination. He had not come to Vera to hide. He nodded. I will face it. Mara's sharp eyes softened slightly, though her face remained calm. Then sit. Rian lowered himself before the pillar. The chamber dimmed until only the silver glow remained. He closed his eyes as Mara instructed. At first, he heard nothing but his own breathing. Then the silence deepened, pressing against him like a heavy tide. His chest tightened. His mind filled with echoes of memories, his departure from Earth. The loneliness of arriving on Vera, the warnings of the settlers. All of them swirled together, louder than any sound. Suddenly, images rushed through his mind. He saw Mara as a child among her people, her eyes bright with wonder. He saw the fall of her kind, the greed that consumed them. He felt their hunger, sharp and endless. For a moment, terror seized him, as though he too would be consumed. But then he remembered Mara's words, "We do not force. The choice must be yours." He held to that truth. Slowly, the fear gave way to calm. The silence no longer felt like a cage, but like a vast space, holding both danger and peace. He breathed deeply, and the images faded. When he opened his eyes, Mara was still there, watching. You did not break, she said softly. The silence accepted you. That is rare among your kind. Rian rose slowly, his body trembling but steady. I understand now. Silence is not emptiness. It is memory. It is warning. It is choice. Mara gave a single nod. You begin to see. That night, when Rian left her home, the river seemed brighter than ever. Yet even as he walked back, he saw two figures watching him from the shadows near the settlement. They stepped away quickly when he approached, but the message was clear. The settlers had begun to notice his visits to Mara, and suspicion was growing. The next day, Tovin came to his house. He spoke quietly but firmly. You are too close to her. Others have seen you. They whisper that you are no longer fully one of us. If you are not careful, they will treat you as one of them. Nate frowned. I chose to trust Mara. She has done nothing to harm me. She has shown me more truth than anyone here. Truth. Tovin's eyes narrowed. Or temptation. You do not know what they are capable of. Rian met his gaze steadily. I know enough. She gave me choice. She gave me strength. That is more than fear ever gave me. Tovin said nothing more, but the look in his eyes carried both worry and warning. That evening, Rian returned once more to Mora's house. She listened as he told her of the settlers' suspicion. Her expression remained calm, though her eyes darkened slightly. It was always a risk. Many of your people are not ready. They carry old fears, and they will not easily let them go. What if they try to drive you away? Rian asked. Mara's gaze did not waver. We will endure, as we always have. But if they rise against us, then you must choose where you stand. You cannot walk both paths forever.
Oh.
My Maver, my Mal and Vev. He realized that the bond he had formed was not just personal lit, tied him to a choice larger than himself. The humans sought to build a future on Vera, but the Viren had already lived through ages of silence and survival. To stand with one was to risk losing the trust of the other. As he left Mara's house that night, the weight of the choice pressed on him. The glowing river whispered softly, and the silence of Vera wrapped around him like a question waiting for its answer. The morning light on Vera was soft and gentle, but Rian felt its warmth differently now. He walked through the glowing forest toward the river, each step more confident than before. The bond with Mara had changed him. His senses were sharper, and he felt the pulse of life in every plant and stone. Even the wind seemed alive, carrying whispers that had once been silent. When he reached the river, he saw Mara waiting on the black stone bridge. Her figure was calm, as if she had always known he would come. She smiled faintly, a small curve of her lips that seemed both gentle and powerful. "You are early," she said. Her voice carried easily over the glowing water. "I did not sleep well," Rian admitted. "I have been thinking about everything. The settlers, the bond, the choices." Mara nodded. "That is wise. Understanding takes time. It is not enough to give once. To walk beside us, you must learn balance. You must see that every choice has weight and consequence." Rian followed her across the bridge. The black stone felt solid beneath his feet, yet it shimmered faintly under the glow of the river. He realized that Vera was not only alive, but aware. The planet itself seemed to recognize him now. Inside her crystal house, Mara led him to the main chamber. The vessels of light shifted as they entered, their glow reflecting in his eyes. He felt calm, yet the room carried a quiet energy that pressed on his mind. "Today," Mara said, "you will meet others like me. You have walked alone until now, but our kind is not solitary. We live in circles, connected by trust and respect. You must see them to understand fully what it means to share life and strength." Rian's chest tightened with anticipation. He had seen only Mara so far. Meeting more of her kind felt daunting, yet he trusted her. He nodded. Mara led him down a long corridor, darker than the halls he had seen before. Shadows moved gently along the walls, though no one else was visible. At the end, a large chamber opened. Several Varens stood there, tall and graceful, their eyes glowing softly in the dim light. Their movements were calm, precise, like water flowing over stones. Rian paused. Some of the Varens studied him, others spoke in soft, light patterns, a language of gestures and flashes that he could feel rather than hear. Mara's presence beside him made the room feel safe. "They see you as part of the circle," Mara explained. "Observe, but do not fear. They understand the bond you share." Rian watched carefully. The Varen approached him slowly, each step measured. One extended a hand, and he placed his own into it, feeling a familiar warmth and subtle energy exchange. Another simply bowed, acknowledging him silently. For the first time, Rian understood the depth of their culture. They did not dominate or frighten. They connected. "You see now," Mara said, "our strength does not come from fear or force. It comes from trust, from the choice to give and receive. Humans often forget that power is more than skill or technology. True power is in understanding, in connection." Rian nodded slowly. He had felt this during their first bond, but seeing it with others made it real. This was a society built on balance, respect, wisdom earned over centuries. The day passed with learning and observation. The Varen showed him how they maintained their homes, how they shared their energy without harm, and how they read the world in silence. Rian felt a rhythm in their movements, a pattern that matched the pulse of Vera itself. He realized that the humans who feared them could never understand this depth because they had never truly listened. By evening, Rian and Mara returned to the main chamber. The glowing river outside bathed the room in soft light. Mara turned to him, her expression serious. "You have seen much today," she said. "The circle accepts you, but now you must decide. Your place is not only with us. You have a human life, a colony to build and protect. You must choose how to balance both." Rian thought of the settlers, of Tovin's warnings, of the whispers and fear he had seen. He knew that some humans would never accept the Varan, but he also knew the truth he had learned. His choice would define not only his own life, but the way humans and Varen might live together on Vera. "I will stand with both," he said finally. "I will be human, but I will honor your people. I will share what I can and protect both sides. Then you are wise. Many choose fear. Few choose trust, and few understand the strength it brings." The night passed with calm and reflection. Rian returned to his house across the river, feeling a sense of peace he had never known. The glowing plants outside pulsed gently, echoing the rhythm of his heart. He realized that humanity's greatest strength was not in domination or conquest, but in choice, in the ability to trust and to connect. In the days that followed, Rian became a bridge between two worlds. He helped the settlers understand the Varen, teaching patience and observation. Some humans resisted, but many began to notice the benefits of coexistence. Mara's people, in turn, learned to respect human ingenuity and determination. Rian often crossed the river to visit Mara. They spoke of history, of the choices that shaped Vera, and of the silent strength of the planet itself. He learned to read the faint currents in the air, to see the patterns of life in ways he had never imagined. With every visit, his bond with the Varen grew. But so did his respect for humanity. One evening, as the sun shifted the sky to violet and gold, Rian stood on the bridge and looked across at Mara's house. Its crystal walls reflected the light in waves that seemed alive. He felt gratitude for the trust she had shown him and for the knowledge he had gained. The planet itself seemed to hum softly. Welcoming the connection between human and Varan, he realized that living on Vera was more than survival. It was about understanding, about building harmony between species, and about choosing trust over fear. The settlers began to see this as well. Slowly, walls of suspicion broke down. Humans learned to live with the Varen without fear, and the Varen learned to trust humans who chose wisely. Rian smiled. For the first time since leaving Earth, he felt truly at home. The silence of Vera was no longer empty, it was alive with possibilities. And in the quiet glow of the planet, he understood that humanity's place in the galaxy was not just to explore, but to learn, to connect, and to grow stronger through trust. As the first stars appeared in the shifting sky, Rian knew that the future of Vera was not uncertain. It was shaped by the courage to trust, by the willingness to bridge worlds, and by the quiet strength of humans who chose to walk in harmony with the unknown. Mara appeared at his side, her presence calm and steady, a reminder that the choice to connect had opened doors to a future filled with hope and understanding. Rian took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of life in every leaf, every stone, and every ripple of the river. He knew the path ahead would not always be easy, but it would be guided by the bond between humans and Varan, and the silent promise of a world where trust and courage could grow stronger than fear. That night, Rian looked up at the sky, alive with color and light, and felt the quiet power of Vera around him. He had chosen to trust. He had chosen connection, and in doing so, he had discovered the true strength of humanity among the stars.